For more on the situation in eastern Ukraine, let's cross live now to Kharkiv to speak with France 24's Catherine Norris-Trent. Catherine, people in the region where you are, they're being urged to leave as soon as they can. Are they being told much about Russian troop movements there? And how worried are people, if you've spoken to any of those who are still in that city?
People are worried in this region and getting increasingly concerned about the possibility of a renewed and intensified Russian attack on Kharkiv and the surrounding area, as it's clear that the Russians now are pushing their offensive eastwards towards the Donbass, which is not far from this city, southeast of this city in eastern Ukraine. And we know there is very fierce fighting southeast of here in the town of Izum, which Russian troops have now taken. They're making incursions towards Kharkiv from there. At the moment, they're still pushed away from the city, although there's very heavy shelling. We heard intense missile explosions into the night, late into the night here. So it does seem that people have renewed concerns about what could be in store for them going forwards. The military head of the region has called on people from the region, the Oblast of Kharkiv, but not the city itself, to evacuate while they still can. And we know the situation is extremely dangerous in parts of this region, because it does look like now there is that renewed push by the Russians to take the Donbass in eastern Ukraine and link that potentially to this city as well, which is just 40 kilometers from the Russian border.
And Catherine, for people who are still there where you are, what kind of conditions are they living in?
People in Kharkiv city are getting used to living in fear, living under the bombing. Lots of them spend a lot of time underground, many of them sleeping in the metro, only going out when they need to. I mean, there are cars out on the streets, there are people going out. Most restaurants and shops are closed. There's lots of volunteers distributing meals to the worst hit areas. But when you go outside of the city of Kharkiv, it's there that you really see the great difficulty, the humanitarian difficulty of people in towns and villages, which some of them are cut off from the outside world. We visited ourselves a few days ago the small town of Chuhuiv, which is around 40 kilometers southeast of Kharkiv, and that road had just been reopened up by the Ukrainian army. You could see the debris, the remnants of battle littered by the wayside, and people there were telling us that they had been stuck, some of them since the first days of the war, people who hadn't managed to evacuate early on. We found hundreds of them living in underground bunkers, barely going out to see the light of day. And local authorities have been telling us about the difficulty of getting humanitarian aid and supplies to these regions, because many of the roads are too dangerous. Even if the cities themselves haven't been occupied by Russian troops, some of them are in the greater Kharkiv region. The roads are so difficult to use and so dangerous, with pretty incessant shelling.
Very difficult conditions for people who are still there. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's our correspondent in Kharkiv, Catherine Norris-Trent.